good evening, good afternoon, and good night if you're going to sleep. I don't know why, but you should stay up to watch this. But my name is Stevenson Altidor. I'm part of Traklife Media Group, and we have a special interview today with you guys. Here we are offering Just a Leo, a band based in Melbourne, Australia. Go ahead and introduce yourself, guys.
Hi, I'm Calliope, and I'm the singer.
I'm Andy. I play the drums.
I'm Jared.
I
knew it was gonna happen. I knew it. I'm Jared. I play the keys and do a bit of the engineering.
I'm Matt, and I play the git fiddle.
The git fiddle?
I do the guitar.
Excuse me? I wasn't ready for that. Oh, the git fiddle. I like that. I like that name. So, I think the most obvious question for me I have to start with. You guys really love astrology, especially based on when it comes to names. You really do. I mean, we're going to touch on the prior one earlier, but Just a Leo. Who came up with that, and what is the basis of that name?
It's all about me, baby.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm the very strong Leo person.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I wanted to make sure that everyone knew about it, you know? So, yeah.
Well, I believe the name it's a little bit ironic because, you know, in astrological terms, in terms of your star sign, like Leos are really kind of, you know, gutsy and confident, and they've got it all together and they really want the attention, but it's like they're also not that. They're kind of like sensitive and really soft, and, you know, which is what you are.
I guess it's like about being, yes, very extroverted, very confident, but also very sensitive and vulnerable.
So the name's kind of ironic. It's like Just a Leo. It's like, no, I'm actually much more than that. There's a lot more than meets the eye.
Okay. See, because your two singles, I think about Faith and More Than Gold. I'm not an astrology person, so I might be completely off base here. But I saw Leo's spiritual something is gold as well, and they are very faithful people. Are the records based off the name, and is this the EP will also follow that theme, or this is just like me just being too deep in the conspiracy bag right now?
Yeah, we didn't actually know that.
No.
Yeah. Happy coincidence.
Wow. This what happened when you do too much.
That just proves it, man. That just proves that, like, astrology is true. Like, you just proved it there.
You know what? That's actually true. So, but then with the new single, especially the latest one, More Than Gold, give me, can you guys give us the creative process behind that record and what inspired it?
How did it even start? I don't remember how it started.
Well,
it was while we were still Zenith Moon. Like, it wasn't even going to be Just a Leo.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God.
We've had that song for a while.
Okay.
Yeah,
Since we touched on it like kind of earlier than I wanted to, let's touch that right now.
Okay.
Guys were under the name Zenith Moon for, I believe, 2.5 years, correct?
Yeah, about that.
So how did the band originally come together?
So I met both Andy, Matt, and also Jared, but Jared wasn't part of the band then. I met them all at uni, but Andy and Matt knew each other back from their hometowns, I believe.
Yeah, we grew up.
We're coasty bros.
Yeah, we grew up in a town called Bega, which is famous for cheese. And we are given, you know, I'm sure it's the same in the States where it's like if you grow up in a small country town, there's not really a lot of opportunity. So you got to get out of there. So we moved to Melbourne. We actually played in a band that I broke up to study music, which is where I met Carl.
And I actually followed Andy like a year later. I hit him up, I'm like, dude, what uni are you at? I'm coming.
It's really funny. Our band name that I broke up for that was called Why Follow the Rabbit. I guess I was the rabbit.
Yeah, it was.
It's kind of ironic, like, honestly.
Just a little bit. We met at uni. Carly and I, we actually studied at the same course at the same level. We entered at the same time, so we had a lot of similar classes, and we were really good friends back then. But I don't know, I got to a point and I was like looking at Carly sing through all these assessments and stuff that we were doing, and I'm like, she's so freaking good. Like, why hasn't she started a band yet? So I kind of put pressure on her. And it kind of worked out really well because one of the final assignments that you had to do for your course was record an EP and perform it live.
Yeah.
And so it was like, yeah, I'll play drums for it. We'll put a band together, and we'll do this thing for the assessment. But then we have kind of like the dual, what's the word for it? It kills two birds with one stone, because then we can take that, we can start a band from it, release the music, and actually start playing gigs. So we actually had an original lineup where all instruments were covered by our friends. And then a couple of iterations later, like, we found Matt, which was really, really great, because our original guitarist left, and Matt was just like, man, I played up some context on that. Just it felt like fate, man. Like, Matt called me for a couple of gigs with his blues band, like literally a week or two before this happened, before our guitarist decided, like, not for me. Yeah. And I just remember being so impressed with this guy. He was just like, he was going crazy, man. He was like, he was the star of the show. And I really loved that energy. And at the time, especially at music uni, everybody was so like academic and didn't really move. They didn't really have a lot of life and expression in their performance. And Matt was just like on his knees, like drinking stuff, like getting into the crowd, running around. I was like, I want that guy.
Throwback.
That's hilarious.
Basically. And then some other stuff happened. We dropped the other two members because of just some politics. It just didn't quite work out. And then basically it was just us three for ages. And that's kind of where eventually we needed to have session musicians. So that's where we started calling people like Jara, because we also met through the course and we played a bunch. And so he'd come on and he'd play a bit of guitar, a bit of keys. And eventually when he left his other band, we were just like,
you're ours.
Ours now.
Come here with me.
Yeah, come here.
So it sounds like all of you guys have a background prior to this band of being in a like completely different brand or musical background in total, correct?
Very, yeah.
Digging into karaoke, I remember in an interview you said you do have a family background of musicians. Could you expand on that for a little bit for us, please?
Yeah, so my uncle was a very, very popular harmonica player. So he would go around and travel all of Australia, tour everywhere for like 8 months of the year. And whenever he'd come back home, he'd jam every single time. He'd come back for like 2 or 3 weeks and he'd be over every day. And I'd be playing the piano and singing as best as I could. And my uncle would play with me. And my dad would try and join in. He knows like he can only play like 2 chords on the guitar, but he'll try and join in. And my sister would do like backing vocals. It was kind of like a cute family band, but we weren't very good. But I was great, but everyone else wasn't up to.
They go to Leo. They go to Leo and her guys.
Yeah.
There it goes right there.
Yeah, like I was very inspired. Like my family loved music. And I've just been inspired by them my entire life. I never listened to the radio. So from the ages of infant to 12 or 13, I literally only knew songs from the 70s. Like that was it.
Oh, wow.
So
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty much it for me, I think. Yeah.
Now, guys, be honest. Since Gerard is like the new member of the band, like, how does he get like the groceries and stuff? Is he like kind of like intern here? Like how does it work? He's the new guy. He got to do something.
Like this, mix the songs, do this, do that. It's pretty much how it works.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Joe,
no, I got it.
Gerard, you are the piano keyist and the engineer, correct?
Yeah, I'm not officially the engineer, but I end up doing kind of a lot of it. Yeah.
Okay. Now, can you give us a little bit of your background as well? Because since you are the new member here, I want you to be able to speak and just tell us about yourself.
So my background, I guess, like if we're going to go back as far as Carly went, my musical background kind of goes to my dad. My dad taught me my first 3 chords on guitar, and when I was young, he was super supportive about kind of like pursuing music and stuff, which was really cool. And yeah, that kind of, I played a lot of music in my hometown. And then, yeah, I got to the point where my little hometown in Mackay, I'd kind of reached the ceiling of what you could do there. I was playing gigs, getting paid. It was great, but I don't know, there was more to be done. So I came to Melbourne to study music. I was at uni. I started the same year Calliope and Andy started, but when I did the composition and production course, whereas they did the performance course. So I was much more focused on kind of recording techniques, but also writing techniques. During that time, I was really actually super focused on like progressive metal. That was the style of music that I wrote and played kind of most of the time. After I ended up finishing the first degree and did a second degree at AIM just because I didn't know what to do after the first one. I was kind of thinking I might go into like lecturing at a uni or something. So I thought that further study would be the go. But yeah, did that, and I kind of thought, you know, I just want to do some stuff. I ended up in a progressive metal band for a while, it was really cool because it meant I could kind of perform and do the music that I'd always wanted to do, but never really I'd never really been able to perform it. But unfortunately, that band also kind of had mostly fallen apart due to politics. And so literally the night that I ended up getting the boot from that band, I was at Matt's Bucks party.
Oh, true.
Wow.
Oh
And
my God.
Matt was as soon as he heard, he's just like, hey, come be part of the band. And you know, it's like straight. So I was straight into like the rebound. I'm like, please, just anyone love me.
Dude, Matt, I did the pin on you. Hey, it was just like every time you were near Matt, he's like, so now that you're a free agent, do you want to come join our band? And every time I talk to you, like, bro, just join our band. Like, just do it. Oh, yeah.
You guys mentioned band politics. What exactly was going on in the background? Was it more schedule conflicts, just personality clashes, or just creative misunderstanding amongst one another? Like, what was going on in those times of early parts of the band?
I think it was a very good mixture of people had very different visions. I think Andy, Matt, and I, we all kind of knew what we wanted. Like, we took it very seriously, whereas the other guys were very, oh, you know, we don't have to worry about what we look like. Let's not, like, you know, like they were very, I don't know what a nice way to say it is.
We just weren't on the same page.
There we go, man.
Yeah.
Like, what we've learned is what's really important. And like, let's be real. Like, if you want to do this, no, I don't want to say professionally, because like that's such a high bar to try and clear. But even if you just want to take it seriously, at least, and try to build it into something that I suppose makes money and can grow, everyone needs to be really clear about how to get there. Basically, you need to like everything needs to be kind of stacked and in alignment. And when you've got something like a band where, you know, the hierarchy isn't really clear, it's not like one person being like, guys, this is what you have to do, go do it. It's kind of like everyone's hanging out, you're all friends, so that the boundaries are really kind of loose. And so what I noticed when we first started this, like I was taking it very seriously, and I also wasn't very good at communicating my ideas. None of us really were. So we'd have meetings and we kind of clash over ideas because, you know, I felt a certain way and Carly felt the same way, and then the other guys that we had, they were completely different.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't believe in the same thing, and that kind of spoiled the relationships just a little bit, which in the end we decided it was best to kind of part ways because we valued our friendship way more than what we were trying to do together. And that was a really good lesson for us. It's about, well, the lesson is make sure you communicate everything, make sure everyone's on the exact same page about what they're willing to commit, and also, you know, making sure that they align with basically all the goals and how to get there. Otherwise it just will not work.
Yeah. With after those developments, you guys, you know, band politics, adding new members, you guys seem to really hit a stride to the point where a record label got in contact with you guys. I believe it was called Golden Robots Records. How did you guys meet with them? What did they contact you first? Did they see you guys perform?
Well, I mean, I guess basically a large part of what we were doing and what we still do now is trying to like put ourselves out there as much as possible. So I read an article about them, and the scene that we were starting to break into, like the actual gigging scene in Melbourne, a lot of the bands that we fit in with were also signed to Golden Robot. So we kind of had it in there. And we were talking to a lot of people on gigs about it, and they're like, yeah, this label's pretty cool. And they kind of knew, and you know, they're expanding right now. So it was kind of like, yeah, we just reached out and they really liked what we were doing and what we were about to do. And so yeah, we talked back and forth for probably like 3-4 months, I think it was.
Yeah,
Was it? I felt like it was way quicker.
It was a while. And then when we got the contracts, and then that was kind of a slow process too. But yeah, and that was back in 2019 that we started the courtship, I suppose. And then it wasn't until March 2020 that we released our first song with them. And then obviously because of, you know, the pandemic and stuff like that, it was, yeah, like the experience was quite hampered by that.
Now, it was a developmental contract, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, what goes on with a developmental contract exactly? Are there artist boot camps? Are there like put you down, like you back in uni and just put you in school and like, listen, this is how this genre are made, or this is how you should play the guitar, stuff like that? Like how does a development contract goes about one?
Well, I suppose, like I said, like not a lot of developmental activity occurred, and that's not a I suppose like a word of criticism against the label. It's more about the fact that the pandemic happened. Melbourne was in lockdown for how long? 4 or 5 months?
Months.
Yeah, long time.
Really long
most
time.
of last year.
So there wasn't really a lot of opportunity for us to really capitalize on any developmental opportunities. But from what I understand, the whole point was pretty much to try and drive press relationships and then eventually touring relationships. A large part of that would have also been to access their artist network, because they've got a lot of artists in Melbourne that are doing a lot of really cool stuff. Like they're selling out some of the bigger rooms here. And so the idea would have been for us to support them and actually gain, you know, kind of allegiance with their fans and grow organically that way. But in terms of everything else, I'm not entirely too sure about artist boot camps and stuff. They might be just reserved for, you know, the bigger labels and things like that with the resources.
Was there any difference in the marketing plan of like when you guys were God, I can't speak right now. When you guys were Zenith Moon, and Just Aaliyah, was like, it seems like you guys are now, not it seems, it's a pure fact. You have more listeners on your Spotify page, on your iTunes page, on your YouTube page. Any music video you did for More Than Gold already has more than any music video you did for Golden Records. But what is the difference marketing-wise that you guys are doing now that the label you guys couldn't do just last year? And did the pandemic play a huge part of that?
I think the pandemic played a massive part. And I think in terms of marketing, I feel like this is how I felt with being signed to the label. I didn't really know what they were doing. So I wasn't really sure if they were doing any digital marketing. Whereas with what we're doing now, because Andy's in charge of all that, I know what he's doing. We all know what he's doing. And he shows us the results. He shows us like week to week, all the stats. Whereas with them, I had no idea. I know that they got us like press stuff, but it was all the things that they got us weren't necessarily like big. They're all very small time things. So I don't really know. It was just a different tactic, a different approach that they took compared to what we're taking now.
So the main issue with our experience with the label was you listen to our Zenith Moon stuff, it's like we started very different to what we are today. And the music we're going to be recording and releasing is different again. We weren't really clear on communicating to the label what our vision was for how we were moving. So they kind of signed us on the onus that we were kind of more the classic rock type thing. And when you get signed by a label, it's like, that's where you're going to stay, basically. So the way that they were marketing us and pushing us was in that vein. And we were like, well, hold on, like we're not actually that anymore. We're moving over here. And that's actually, to be honest, our fault. We're not communicating that more clear. So the key difference between what happened with Zenith and what's been happening with Just Aaliyah is we're much more clear on what our vision is. So therefore we can more clearly define who our target audience is and where to actually go find those people. And also, we're just better. Like, we know a lot more.
Yeah, we've learned a lot.
I think that's also a big part of this.
A big central theme I keep hearing here is communication. Is that something you guys underplayed as part of being a band, being full-time musicians, where the communication aspect with not only the band members, but record labels, and if you're not dealing with one, the fans especially. Is that something you just underestimated starting this group and on this journey?
Oh man, yeah, we definitely did, because we kept learning the lesson every relationship that we entered into with like friends and managers. It was just like, we're not communicating clearly enough, basically.
Yeah, I struggle I really struggle, because I can also be very blunt, and I can come across as me being like really, really mean, but I don't mean things in a mean way. But like, yeah, I struggle. I'm learning. I have improved a lot in the last 3 years. I promise you.
I personally prefer it though, because you're just like,
Yeah, you always know where you stand with you. It's good.
yeah.
Yeah, but still, it's like I'm trying to be a bit more eloquent as opposed to just brutal. So I'm getting there.
Yeah, but it's good. It's better to be like that, as opposed to being like holding your resentment back and being like, oh, don't like you, but I'm not going to say anything because we're friends.
Oh yeah,
That
always.
passive aggressiveness seems like it can end like a lot of good relationships.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, Matt, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How you doing?
Now, you are the guitarist for the band,
Yes.
mind you. I think all you guys are great. And so, with that being said, you joined the group it seems like in the middle of the transition of band members leaving, coming and going. How did that make you feel in that moment? Like, especially hearing all the other stories, probably, or rumors of anything going on around the time.
I mean, at the time, I was sort of doing my own thing with a few different bands. I was sort of just trying to do as much as I could, trying to get out there a bit. And I remember Andy sending me like a room recording of the band stuff. And I was really, really into the sound. I think it was actually our first single, Inhibition, with Zenith. Sent me that, and I was like, yeah, I'm heaps into this. Let's go. Like, I'm in. And then it just felt right with them. Like, I felt really comfortable. Like, I obviously knew Andy, and I had an existing relationship with him. And like, Carly was a chill person. And it was like, just felt good. Like, it was really welcoming. And then, yeah, I suppose it was like Andy was saying, there was sort of those cracks were forming. And then I was just along for the ride at the time. Like, I was just having a good time.
Oh yeah.
And they sort of said that, like, I think like Andy, you called me and said like, look, we really like you. We want to make sure you're still here and all of that. And that made me feel real good. That made me feel like I was actually part of something, which was nice.
Now, you guys, what are the lessons or the things you took away from the experience last year with the record label? And would you sign one again in the near future if the opportunity arises? And if so, are there like certain stipulations you would add in to make sure whatever happened with Golden Records won't happen again with just Leo?
Yeah, I suppose it's about trying to set up like effective communication channels that are going to be enforced on both sides. That was the thing, because there was times where they were chasing us and times where I was chasing them, and it kind of like was real roundabout. And like I said, like it's hard to speak of the experience, especially because of the context of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure it would have made a lot of things harder because people were out of work and things were going crazy. And it's just kind of like they probably didn't have the manpower to pick up the phone and talk to me, because it's just like, hey man, we got way bigger fish to fry right now, which I totally understand. So I guess just making sure that that's clear and actioned from the beginning, and then probably setting up some sort of termination clause, or maybe perhaps a probationary period, I reckon would be really, really important. But I think, yeah, I mean, that being said, the most important thing is I don't think we really want to sign a deal until we have leverage in it, to be honest.
Well, I think it's, sorry. I think like one thing like that Paul always said from our uni was, don't ever sign a contract. Don't get another person on your team unless you absolutely just a too flat chat to do it yourself kind of thing. And it's like, I mean, it's super selfish of me, because honestly, like Andy does a huge proportion of the work, but like I think he's been kind of like proof positive for that concept. Like he's dived like headfirst into the marketing and, you know, developing all the relationships and stuff like that. And he's done it better than any person or any representative for any band I've ever been a part of. So it's like, it's finding, because if you're doing it yourself, like you're 100%, I mean, ideally, unless you're really not into the band, you're invested in it. Whereas like, as Andy said, like labels, you know, the guy that you're calling it the label, he's got like a lot of other people to deal with and work with. It's a lot of kind of like things to have your mind like pointed towards. Whereas, you know, most of what Andy's doing, like I'm fairly sure like if you like took his brain out of his head, cut it into portions, found the just a Leo bits and weighed it, that'd be like 90% of the weight.
Yeah.
That's pretty graphic. So,
analogy.
An analogy, like, man, that's a horror movie. So, but now let's go back to the music. You mentioned this, Andy. There was a huge change from inhibitions to more than go. And when I look up your Facebook page, the press release we got at Traklife Media, even your LinkedIn profile, LinkedIn, like it makes sure and it communicates you guys are not just a one genre band. 90s dance music, 80s pop and rock, and art pop are the things you mentioned electronically. Now, what went into that transformation stylistically wise into this sound? Is this something you always wanted to do, or is just, you know what, now we feel like we gotten better to the point we can actually do what we always wanted to?
Well, to be honest, the second we started this classic rock, I was like, I want to get away from this. It was the second we started, you know. Because it started out of Ali's songwriting that she did by herself. And then when we kind of extrapolated that to a band context, it was very classic rock. But it also happened because of the way that we changed how we wrote. Because prior to when we had a full band, when we had the 5 members, the way we wrote was we got into a room and we jammed stuff out. It's like, hey, Carly has a song, she's going to play it, she's going to tell her the chords, and we're going to try and arrange this on the spot. When we lost those members, it was like, how do we write now? We can't get into a room and cover everything, because then we have vocals, guitar, and drums. It's not really a great jamming experience because it's not full and voluptuous. So we changed to writing predominantly using a DAW, digital audio workstation, which is basically, you know, we record stuff in and we'd layer things on top of each other. And that was a very natural process in terms of getting away from the classic rock, moving away to where we are now, because it's like we could layer BBs and get more harmonies. We could start playing with synths because we could just do it and hear it back immediately and play around with it. And I guess, you know, being music, well, we're music lovers, of course. We're all into a really giant variety of music. Me personally, I've always been really inspired by electronic music, as well as a lot of like kind of like the alt pop indie rock thing that's happening, where they kind of merge all these genres together and go, meh. And so I've always been really inspired to express musically my ideas in that direction. And I'm just really grateful that everybody is kind of on board with that as well.
Yeah, I think for me, when we were Zenith Moon, that was around the time when we were still at uni, and I was known for having like a really strong belty voice. And I felt like upon reflection, I think I was trying to just fit this mold. Like that is one part of me, but that's not how I like to sing all the time. And I think with lockdown, Andy and I were at home all the time, so we had so much time to write. And then it just kind of progressed out of, like, I don't really know how it...
But this was way before that. Like, the first song we wrote in this style was, I think, About My Faith.
Yeah.
Well, it was actually Illuminate by Zenith Moon, was when we started trying to take in that direction. But Faith was when we started using synths.
But I think in lockdown, that's when it really, like, it ramped up.
Oh, I mean, it ramped up because we had the more time, but it was already happening well before.
Yeah.
Well before.
But anyway, I feel like for me it was more about trying to not fit the little box that I put myself in. I wanted to be more me. So yeah, I think for me that's what it was more about, kind of singing a little bit more gently, not always freaking belting as hard as I can.
Yeah. Plus, we're kind of liberated because now we don't have the members. We have to use backing tracks, which means that everything that we actually put into the computer, all the vocal chops, all the samples that we use, all the virtual instruments, it's like we can recreate that exactly for our live performances, which is fantastic. So we're not really limited by that anymore, which is in the past we were, because we didn't, it was impossible to pull off. Like we used to get up on stages with like 9-10 musicians, man. It was hectic. Like,
yeah, it was pretty nuts.
2 guitars, keys, bass, drums, Carly. It was just like, oh, this is
trying to coordinate that too was a nightmare.
I just hear a lot of stuff you have to lift and put in the card and take out the card and put it back. Like that's too much work.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, to the current music now, More Than Gold, you guys released a music video 2-3 weeks ago, I believe, sometime in mid-May.
Yeah. 2 weeks tomorrow.
I want to compliment you guys on the great detective work. That was like, that would have been amazing on the state side. I want you guys to know that right now. Eventually, you found what you were looking for, but it took you a while, but it was amazing.
Thanks.
Now,
Fine.
one thing I noticed, I don't know if this was intentional, but going back to I think about Faith as well, the music video ended with Calliope walking towards the camera and going to the left. Then in More Than Gold, she walked towards the camera. I think she kind of came somewhat to the right, but then she went off to the right as well. So was that a continuation of ideals?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much.
So,
yeah.
Wow.
We're working with a freelance director here called Kiralee Greenhalgh, and we met her doing all the Zenith stuff. And she's actually been responsible for almost every bit of visual content we've done. Yeah. So the photos, the live videos that we're putting out.
So she's great.
Yeah, she's so good. Shout out to Kirill. But Carly had an idea because we're halfway through releasing our EP at the moment, which is going to be 4 tracks. And Carly had an idea to basically tell a more visual story with each track. So we're releasing a music video for every song, and it kind of tells an overarching story, and they're all kind of connected and interlinked. So they're definitely linked.
Oh wow! See, I
picked up on that.
Nice,
proud of
yeah,
you.
nice.
Clap it up for me. But yeah, I saw it. I was watching. I didn't notice that until like an hour before the interview. Actually, I was watching the videos again. I'm like, man, that was actually kind of interesting. And then you guys went off with the chairs. So it sounded like is the EP done?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow! How long has it been done?
Since January when we got the masters back. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think we recorded it last year in about July, and when Jared said he's sort of our engineer, he was the engineer. He still is the engineer. Like he mixed that all himself, which is brilliant. Shout out to Jared.
Is there a planning release date for the EP, or is that something you guys still figuring out?
Yeah, we're like I said, we're midway through releasing it, so we're kind of aiming for a track every 8 weeks or so. So we do have another single coming out on the 2nd of July, which will be our 3rd single, and then everything will wrap up with the 4th track in probably September, I believe is kind of what we're looking at.
Yeah.
What inspired that kind of EP rollout?
Times have changed, man. Like how people consume music is different. It's all one track at a time, and also there's just so much noise. So many people are releasing music. So for us to stay relevant and have a chance to pop up and actually win more people over, you just have to be constantly putting out content.
Yeah, it's just
content is king.
It's just you need a reason to always like pop up.
It's also inspired by, we've had a lot of people who. Here's the thing with the music industry when it comes to marketing. It takes a while for everyone to catch up with where the market is actually at present. So a lot of people are still stuck in the kind of album mentality. It's like release 1, 2, maybe 3 singles and then drop the album. But it's like man, you've spent thousands of dollars making that thing, draw it out. So you can take an album and you can release it over 12 months and you've got an entire year covered where you have a reason to keep hitting press contacts, hitting radio, popping up in social media, running campaigns. If you release that, if you did 3 singles on an album, that's going to take you maybe 4 months. And then you have to go make another album. And who the hell can afford making that many albums, man? It's too expensive.
Big artists can.
Big artists can.
Exactly.
But I guess I'm speaking of
all.
the kind of emerging and just broke level.
And I think the other thing on that is as well, like, I think if you release singles and the singles get the love, but if you do what Andy says, you do your 3 singles and release the album, there's a good chance that like you got some banging tracks on the album, but people will hardly listen to it because, the singles got the love in at the start. And, unless there's like a super, super strong track on the album, a lot of the album tracks might just get kind of forgotten unless you got some real diehard fans.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to say that the album's dead. I think it's still alive and kicking very, very well. And that's proven through things like upticks in vinyl sales, for example. But I think there's a barrier to entry, unfortunately, for a lot of artists. It's like maybe do a limited edition run to sell at gigs for people who are really invested. But if you want to be successful in the digital realm, it's like you've got to do as much as possible, as often as possible, and then keep that going for as long as possible.
It was really interesting because I've never heard anyone, I haven't seen it to my knowledge, where they released the tracks for an album or a project first, especially in music video form, then release the project afterwards. That's kind of unique to me. And I was going to say, aren't you guys worried that, when by the time the EP does drop, people are already going to say, well, I heard these songs already?
Not really, because we're making sure that there's always something around the corner, basically. So, like with the 3rd song that's dropping, I mean, we're using something called the waterfall method, which is where like our last 2 singles are going to be tacked on to the new single. So it's kind of all the body of work. And that's kind of how the EP is going to go too. But I'm not particularly too worried about that, to be honest. We're always serving up something new. And then even when we release the body of work, it's like, here's the new song on it, go listen to that. And then when you click on there, it's like, hey, here's the other stuff I've heard. I can save it all as a body of work now and just listen to it on repeat, hopefully.
In between these 2 months of every single drop, and you guys are still trying to come up with ways to content to keep the fans engaged, what do you guys do in between that time then? Besides creating music, besides that?
What you mean as in terms of like what extra content we want to kind of alongside of it?
Yeah.
Well, one thing with Zenith that I learned really quickly is just we didn't have any strong live performance videos of us. So in terms of like booking venues and winning people over that way, it was very difficult. So that was really important to me personally going into this. It's like, I want people to see how we play and I want to make sure that we can have enough content for that. So at the start of the year, back in January, we actually recorded in one day. Again, Jarrett engineered the session. He's not kind of the engineer. He is the engineer because he did it himself.
Unofficially.
But I'm not getting paid like the engineer yet.
Fair.
He just came out of nowhere with that one. Wow.
That's so good. But we recorded a live take for every single song. So that's a big part of our companion pieces. Plus we've also got the music video. And then on the music video, we're making sure that we shoot a lot of behind the scenes content to turn that into like a bigger like a BTS video
content. Yeah.
And we've got plenty more ideas for the dead space between EP1 and EP2.
Okay. Is it a 2-part EP?
No.
No, just
Okay.
We're going to be launching straight into EP2 by the end of the year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now, you guys, wow, my throat. You guys have a name for the EP, correct?
We don't have an official name yet for it. I think we're going to call it by default song name.
That's true. I haven't even thought about that. We should think about it, guys.
Yeah, we should.
Wow. Hello, huh? Oh, wait. I didn't think
It might be the name of the 4th track.
Yeah, can I drop the
don't
name?
know. Like we actually haven't.
I mean,
all
you guys can
discussed
tell us. I mean, you can tell me the next 2 singles. I mean, I'm gonna listen to them. So like,
True.
it's
Well,
no problem.
the 4th song is going to be called "Sick of All the Rain."
Sick of
So
all.
I'm pretty sure that's going to be the EP name.
And what's the next single coming out?
That's going to be coming. Oh, the next single's coming out on the 2nd of July.
Yeah, and what's the name of that one?
Hideaway.
Hideaway. Okay, so Hideaway and Sick of the Rain, Sick of All the Rain, potential EP name.
Yeah.
Okay.
Potential.
Traklife exclusive. Bang, bang. That's right. I just got an article, guys. All right. So now, this is one of my last questions. So again, you guys have a clear plan of where you guys want to go from here to transition into next year. So where do you guys want to be the next 3 to 5 years? What is the goal as a band you guys collectively said, I want to be here or there?
I would love to get to a point where we have a reason, because, yeah, I'm going to say this. We have a reason to move to the United States because there's so much more opportunity there. And what I'm hoping in the next few years is that we get some contacts over there, we get some really cool, maybe supporting gigs over there, and then we can actually move there and start our music careers in the US.
The American dream, baby.
I don't know about that one yet. I'm gonna get back to you.
Yeah. Pretty much. I think for me, you have to kind of manage expectations, and that's not being pessimistic. That's kind of being realistic, just because of how difficult it is, and also because we don't want to get our hopes up and kind of not find ourselves where we are. In saying that, we're still obviously aiming big, but we've got our heads down, grounded in the work. I think hopefully by the 3 to 5 year mark, I would love to be able to sustain international touring and at least break even. And then I hope that we can build out our team with things like booking agencies, management, perhaps even not necessarily a label deal, but distribution deals in different markets, in the US, Europe, as well as Australia. And yeah, we'd also like to be based overseas. And then that's pretty much it. In terms of raw numbers, man, I just
don't know.
All I really care about is that our music connects with people and people actually genuinely like it and it makes their lives better. And as long as that's happening, it doesn't matter if it's 1,000, 1,000,000. It's like at the end of the day, our music has fulfilled the purpose that we made it to fulfill.
Yeah.
Now, once again, thank you guys. So I'm gonna end this off with, I want each of you guys to say one thing that you want the fans after this interview. What do you when they hear Just a Leo, what do you want them to feel?
Oh God.
But like the music listening experience for me is just, I don't know, it becomes this, it's like the color in your life. It kind of, it just shades everything like an Instagram filter. So I just hope it fulfills that end for them. I just hope it becomes the soundtrack to some cool moments in their lives, and I hope they just enjoy it.
I think I want them to feel, when they hear Just a Leo, I want them to be completely, what's the word? Like, I want them to be okay with feeling that vulnerability and really, really feel it and let the music travel into their body and, for them to be able to really express themselves and to do it in a way where they don't feel worried or scared or anything. I want it to be like a safe place for them, I think.
Matt?
Oh, okay. I kind of relate with one of Andy's points. Like, I'd love, because music can kind of be like a time machine. Like, everyone knows you put on that one song and it like takes you back to that moment in your life. I'd love for our music to reach the point where it becomes that for somebody, that time machine song. I think that'd be a beautiful moment.
So think about it becoming important to you.
Yeah. I don't know. Just enjoy it. That's
yeah.
I don't know. I think for me, music's always been about telling stories. And the beauty about music is the story is a lot up to the listener. So I hope that, you know, whatever story that we've told you is something that means something to you and that you get something from it.
All right. Any last words? Yes, shout out your Instagram page, Spotify account. Any last words?
Yeah, give us a follow at Just a Leo Band on Instagram. Send us a message. You know, where
I love getting messages. I get so excited every time.
yeah, we love having a chat with people who are liking our music, and it's really cool to build relationships to these people, to fans as well. You know, it's just so humbling and it's a huge honor for us. So yeah, reach out, come hang, come say hey.
Yeah.
Now, is that all?
That yeah,
I think
I suppose.
That'll do it.
Go
Our
go listen to our songs and watch our videos. Subscribe, like, follow, comment, share.
There we go. There we go. That's what I wanted. I had so much fun talking to you guys. Hopefully we get to talk again before the EP comes out. I would very much appreciate that.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Absolutely.
Love to.
Yeah.
This was awesome. Thank you
Yeah, thank
so
you so
much.
Yeah,
much.
thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks, Steve.
Thank you all for making the great music, first off. Allowing me to talk to you guys. My anxiety got to me for a little bit, but you know, it was a lot of fun today, and I really appreciate that. So
Yeah, you're probably the best interviewer that we've ever had.
Yeah, that was a really
Yeah,
good interview, man.
100%.
oh
Yeah.
my God.
Oh, dude.
Oh my, thank you so much. Give me my Grammy. But I mean my Oscar. Oh my God.
We'll give you a Grammy too. That's all right.
I can do a nice I can do a couple of tears on the track, so you know it's cool. But no, my name is Stevenson Altidor. This is, you know what? Sign out with your guys. Sign out with us. This is
Just a Leo, and you've been watching Traklife with Stevenson Altidor.
yeah.
Woo.